Let me ask you something that might hurt. When did you first learn that you weren't enough? Was it when someone walked away? When you didn't get chosen? When your love was too much or not enough for somebody else? Because here's the truth no one tells you. You were always enough. It was the world that lied to you. I remember sitting on the floor of my childhood bedroom, knees pulled tight to my chest, staring at the crack in the door, like it could somehow swallow me whole. My dad's voice still echoed through the house, sharp, disappointed, loud enough to make my heart race. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" And in that instant, I felt something small break inside me. It wasn't the first time I'd heard those words, but it was the first time I let them settle deep, let them root themselves where my confidence should have lived. I made a silent promise to myself that night. Try harder. Be better. Maybe then they'll see me. Maybe then I'll be enough. We don't talk about these moments much, do we? The first time we felt small. The first time we questioned if who we were was okay. For some of us, it was in the classroom, when our hand shot up with an answer and the teacher's face told us we got it wrong. For others, it was on the playground, when we weren't picked for the team. Or maybe it was at home, when a parent's love felt like something we had to earn instead of something that just was. And so the story begins. The story we tell ourselves. If I can just be smarter, if I can just be prettier, if I can just be quieter, if I can just be more, then maybe I'll be enough. We become actors in our own lives, trying to fit a role that was never written for us. Psychologists call this the beginning of conditional self-worth. And we don't need to go there to find the prettiest room. It's the moment when our value gets tied not to the simple fact that we exist, but to whether we can measure up. To someone else's expectations, to standards we didn't set, to a moving target we'll never hit. And the heartbreaking thing is, we carry that moment with us. We carry it into our friendships, into our relationships, into our work. It whispers in our ear when we look in the mirror. It shouts at us when we stumble or fall. But here's what I want you to know. What I wish someone had told me that night on the floor of my bedroom. Your worth was never meant to be measured. Your value was never meant to be conditional. You were worthy the moment you were born, and you don't have to spend your life trying to earn what was already yours. I once stood in front of my bathroom mirror late at night. The kind of night when you can't sleep because your mind won't stop replaying every mistake, every shortcoming, every moment you didn't measure up. I stared at my reflection, at the lines on my face that weren't there last year, at the curve of my body that no longer looked the way it used to, at the tired eyes that seemed to tell the world I was worn down. And in that moment, that mirror didn't feel like glass, it felt like a weapon. A reflection of every criticism I'd ever heard and every cruel thought I'd ever had about myself. Too fat, too thin, too soft, too hard, too much, too little. It didn't matter what I saw, it mattered what I believed. And what I believed was that no version of me would ever be enough. We all have that mirror, the one that doesn't just reflect our face or our body, but echoes back all the things the world, or maybe even the people closest to us, taught us to hate about ourselves. We stand there picking apart what was never broken, comparing ourselves to impossible standards, punishing ourselves for simply being human. That's what shame does. It's insidious. It sneaks in through the cracks of our self-doubt and convinces us that our worth is tied to what we see on the outside, that our bodies, our faces, our scars, our softness, they're all reasons to hide, to shrink, to apologize. We believe if we can just change this or fix that, then maybe we'll finally feel okay. Maybe then the mirror will be kind. But the truth is, The mirror was never the enemy. The enemy was the story we were told, and the one we kept telling ourselves. Psychology calls this internalized shame when we take the judgments of the outside world and turn them into the way we judge ourselves. When we stop needing other people to criticize us because we've already mastered doing it on our own. We become both the jailer and the prisoner, locked inside expectations we never agreed to in the first place. But here's the deepest truth I've learned standing in front of that mirror. Your body is not a problem to be solved. Your face is not a failure to be fixed. Your reflection is not your worth. Your body, your face, your soul, they are not projects, they are homes. And you deserve to live in them without apology, without shame, without needing permission. You deserve to stand in front of that mirror and see not flaws, but the proof that you've survived, that you're still here, that you are already enough. There was a night I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, staring at the screen like I could will it to light up. A message that never came, a call that wasn't made. And that kind of silence, it doesn't just feel empty, it feels like a verdict, like a quiet confirmation of every fear you've tried to bury deep. You aren't wanted, you aren't enough, you weren't chosen. And if you're like me, that silence doesn't stay in that one moment. It follows you, it creeps into other spaces. The meeting where your ideas are passed over, the gathering where no one saves you a seat, the relationship where your love feels too heavy for the other person to hold. We tell ourselves it's because we lack something. We weren't smart enough, attractive enough, funny enough, good enough. We make that silence mean something about us. What we rarely talk about is how rejection cuts deeper than just a no. It cuts into the stories we carry about our worth. It taps into those old wounds, the ones that say love and belonging are things we have to earn. And if we don't get picked, it must be because we didn't try hard enough, weren't good enough, didn't deserve it. But here's where we get tangled. We start collecting these moments like evidence in a case against ourselves. Psychology calls it confirmation bias, that tendency to look for proof of what we already believe to be true. And when deep down we're carrying the belief that we aren't enough, we twist every unanswered message, every unreturned call, every empty chair into proof. See, I knew it. I'm not enough. But let me say this as clearly as I can. The people who fail to choose you are not the judges of your worth. Their inability to see your light does not dim it. Their silence does not define you. And maybe the hardest thing of all is learning to sit with that silence without letting it shape who you are. To let it be about them, their choices, their blind spots, their capacity. Instead of turning it into another reason to shrink yourself. You are not the sum of the people who didn't choose you. You are not the echo of their silence. You are worthy, you have always been worthy, and the right people, the ones meant for your life, they will never make you question that. There was a season in my life when I woke up every day already tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep could fix, but the deep, bone-heavy exhaustion that comes from carrying a weight you can't quite name. I was hustling, not just at work, but in every part of my life. Hustling to be liked, to be accepted, to be impressive. I said yes when I wanted to say no. I smiled when I wanted to cry. I over-delivered, over-apologized, over-gave. I convinced myself that if I could just do more, be more, achieve more, maybe I'd finally feel like I was enough. And for a while, it worked, at least on the surface. People praised the effort, admired the achievements, told me how strong and capable I was. But inside, I felt hollow, like I was building a house on sand, waiting for the waves to come and wash it all away. And that's the thing. No amount of doing can fill the void that comes from not believing you are worthy as you are. I see this in so many of us. The endless striving, the constant proving, the belief that if we just push harder, love better, achieve greater, we'll finally earn our place. We'll finally be enough for them, for the world, for ourselves. But the truth is, the finish line keeps moving. The bar keeps rising because the goal was never clear to begin with. Psychology calls this the shame-fueled hustle. It's what happens when we tie our sense of worth to external validation. When we believe our value is conditional on what we do, how well we perform, or how much we give. And the cruelest part? The more we chase it, the emptier we feel. Because no external praise, no gold star, no pat on the back can heal a wound that says, I'm only worthy if I prove it. The real courage? It's not in pushing yourself until you break. It's in daring to stop, to rest, to say, I am enough, even when I'm not achieving, even when I'm not perfect, even when I'm just being. Because you were never meant to hustle for your worth. Your worth isn't something to be earned. It's something to be remembered. I tried to outrun it with work, with perfectionism, with relationships where I kept giving and giving, hoping someone else's love would fill the gaps I couldn't seem to fill myself. I tried to outrun it by being everything to everyone, except to myself. That night, something in me finally broke open. I was so tired, not just in my body, but in my soul. I realized I couldn't keep living this way, caught between the person I thought I had to be and the person I actually was. And in that quiet, painful moment, a question rose up that I had never dared ask myself before. What if this is all a lie? What if I've been enough all along, and I've just been too afraid to believe it? And that was the moment I chose myself, not in some big, dramatic gesture, not in a way that would make a great movie scene, but in a soft, trembling, ordinary decision to stop abandoning myself, to stop begging the world for permission to belong, to stop waiting for someone else to tell me I was enough, and start living like I already was. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you stop growing. It doesn't mean you stop striving to be better. It means you stop striving because you believe you're broken. It means you start growing because you're worthy of the kind of life where you can thrive, not just survive. Psychologists call this self-compassion. It sounds simple, but it's radical. It's the act of meeting yourself with kindness, with grace, with forgiveness, the same way you would meet a dear friend who was hurting. It's looking in the mirror and saying, I'm on my side now. I choose me. And here's the deepest truth I can offer you tonight. The moment you choose yourself is the moment you stop waiting for the world to choose you. It's the moment you lay down the armor, the hustle, the proving, and you come home to the person you were always meant to be. It's the moment you realize you are enough, you have always been enough, and you are the only one who gets to decide that. And I promise you this, when you choose yourself, everything begins to change. Not because the world suddenly gives you more, but because you finally stop giving yourself less. Tonight, I want you to remember this. The world may try to convince you otherwise, but your worth isn't up for debate. You are enough. Right here, right now, just as you are. Let that truth be the one that guides you home.